It's true. This is the best Marvel comic series that I've ever read. And I'm talking about New Avengers, written by Brian Michael Bendis. A little bit of a tongue twister of a name, but man, he can write a fucking story. Uh, Before I get into talking about why I feel this is my favorite comic book series that Marvel has ever put out, I'm going to first talk about of why I started reading New Avengers. And some of you may guess it already just by the title alone of the comic series I'm talking about, but it is the Thunderbolts movie that came out last month, maybe I don't know, a little over a month ago. I don't remember. It feels like it's been fucking forever. But once I saw that movie and thought, man, this movie was just kind of mid, I wanted to see where they were kind of deriving their uh, ideas from for this movie. So I checked out the comic series New Avengers. And man, what a fucking series, dude. For those of you who don't know, New Avengers takes place before and during Civil War, as well as after Civil War, then before Secret Invasion, during Secret Invasion, after Secret Invasion, before Siege, or sorry, before Dark Reign, during Dark Reign, after Dark Reign, before Siege, during Siege, and after Siege. And holy shit, just naming those events in Marvel Comics history should have you losing your underwear at this point because man, it's an insane series of comics right there. Just the events of Civil War, Secret Invasion, Dark Reign, and Siege. I don't know if I'm forgetting a Marvel event, but those are the ones that I'm talking about during New Avengers, the New Avengers run. I think it runs for about 64 issues. Uh, they have tie-ins to the events, and it could, it kind of veers off course a little bit when you read some of the books. It tells you, oh, you should probably read these ones. You should probably read these ones. And boy, I fucking did. After reading, sorry, let's stay on New Avengers for a little bit. We have on the team of New Avengers Captain America, Iron Man, Luke Cage, Spider Man, Wolverine, uh, Miss Marvel, but Carol Danvers when she was wearing that little skimpy outfit, and the Sentry. And the Sentry plays a big part in New Avengers as well as another series that we'll talk about because it ties into New Avengers, known as Dark Avengers. But I'll talk more about Dark Avengers in a little bit because Dark Avengers is also fucking good. But anyways, back to New Avengers. With a team like that, I was already hooked. I know little to nothing about Luke Cage. I know little to nothing about Miss Marvel, Carol Danvers. I know little to nothing about the Sentry, other than what was in the Thunderbolts movie. I know little to nothing about most of these characters. Uh, so to read New Avengers, I was already hooked because I wanted to know more. And what shocked me when reading this series was I got to know more about exactly what I wanted to. Luke Cage, the Sentry, um, not so much Wolverine or Spider Man. They kind of took a little backseat because they have their own comic series already that they can uh, go off of, and that makes Marvel enough money. So New Avengers kind of focuses on the characters that really can't hold their own when it comes to a their standalone comics, and I loved it, absolutely loved it, and there was no issue where I was like, man, this is kind of boring. I'm kind of over this. I kind of don't want to read anymore. I binge read it, and I was so invested in New Avengers that I had to read the other tie-in books, which was Dark Avengers. And Dark Avengers, holy shit, Dark Avengers was fucking amazing. Dark Avengers takes place right after Secret Invasion. This is when I think Secret Invasion ends with Norman Osborn. Um, I read Secret Invasion, but when I was going back to read New Avengers, I didn't read Secret Invasion because I've already read it. But I believe it ends with Norman Osborn basically saying that he is the president of the United States or is running for president. Well, in Dark Avengers, he is the president of the United States, and he is also the head of Shield, which also means he is the head of the Avengers. And because after Civil War and Secret Invasion, the Avengers break up and they're kind of like scrambling. And during this whole point, the Superhero Registration Act is still in play, and it doesn't come off the board until the very end of New Avengers. And because the Superhero Registration Act is still in play, SRA is what I'm going to call it for short, you still have superheroes that are on the run. So you have a criminal such as Norman Osborn, aka the Green Goblin, running the Avengers, trying to go after these criminals, which is, because of the SRA. Holy shit. Fucking fantastic. If that doesn't hook you, I will keep going. We have Norman Osborn, who, because he is the head of the Avengers, he has access to all of Tony Stark's royalties, because Tony Stark, everything that he was doing was technically in line with S.H.I.E.L.D. So because Norman Osborn is the head of S.H.I.E.L.D. now, he also gets everything that Tony Stark has, which includes his Iron Man suits. So Norman Osborn is the Iron Man of Dark Avengers. So they don't call themselves the Dark Avengers in the comics. They call it just the series name to make it simple for people like us who would just be like, well, this is not the Avengers. It's Dark Avengers. Just, Dark Avengers, they're still the Avengers in universe, but to us, they're the Dark Avengers. And with that, we also have Hawkeye on the team. Then we also have Spider-Man on the team. Then we also have Captain Marvel on the team. Then we have the Sentry on the team. Excluding the Sentry, all the characters I named are already characters that you would see in the normal Avengers. Like, how the fuck is Spider-Man on a team with Norman Osborn? What did Norman Osborn do to Peter? Well, that's not who they actually are. You have Bullseye, yes, Daredevil's Bullseye, wearing the Hawkeye costume and being the Hawkeye of the group. Then you have Mac Gargan, who is Scorpion, as the Spider-Man of the group, but only because he has the Venom symbiote on him. And then you have Moonstone, which I don't really know much about Moonstone, but you have Moonstone, who is Captain Marvel, being the Carol Danvers of the group. And these guys are so despicable, and Brian Michael Bendis, who also wrote Dark Avengers, did not shy away from making sure we always knew that these guys were fucking scumbags. There's so much in this comic series that I don't even want to spoil, don't even want to talk about, because I want you guys to read it. Because New Avengers, fantastic, which we'll go back to. But Dark Avengers was even more fantastic because it is giving you a breath of fresh air of not only just following superheroes, but villains parading to try and be superheroes. And also on Dark Avengers, you also have Ares, the god of war. Kind of forgot about him, which we kind of get a little insight to his character in here. He has a good scene in the series with his son that I thought was really fucking good. But anyways, I went down this path because of New Avengers, and I read New Avengers because of the Marvel Thunderbolts movie, which I thought was just whatever. But man, I will glaze Thunderbolts for making me want to be interested in reading Brian Michael Bendis' run of New Avengers, because that series is just fantastic. If you've read it already, you already know what I'm talking about. But it goes through so much. It gives a deeper dive into these events that when I first read these events, I kind of felt like I was missing something. I'm talking about Civil War, Secret Invasion, Siege, and all those events. I felt like I was missing something, and the thing I was missing was not reading New Avengers or Dark Avengers. It gives you so much more context to those events. It gives you so much more story to those events. It gave me what I was missing when I first read those events. Because when I first read them, I was like, people are glazing these events. These events aren't really that great. It's not really that fantastic, I'm over here reading DC comics, and I'm like, dude, Dark Knight Metal is like 10 times better. All these other DC series or storylines, which I can't really name right now because my brain is too hardwired to Marvel right now. But I digress. New Avengers, man. New Avengers. It gave me more insight to Luke Cage and Jessica Jones and their relationship, which I only knew about Luke Cage from what I'd seen from the Netflix show. Haven't even finished that series, but I had only known Luke Cage from the couple episodes that I've seen of those, and didn't really interest me. But in this comic series, Luke Cage has become one of my favorite Marvel characters because Luke Cage is a guy that you're like, yeah, I'm gonna fucking stand with this dude. Yeah, fuck these dudes, you know. And you know, he's not signing that superhero registration act because fuck that, you know. He's not gonna be part of some government bullshit. And then when Dark Avengers starts, and you start to find out that these certain people who signed their Superhero Registration Act, while it's still in effect when Norman Osborn becomes president, they're like, dude, what the fuck did I just do? You see it with Carol Danvers, Miss Marvel, and early on into the Dark Avengers comics, and yeah, dude, it's fantastic. It's fantastic. And speaking of fantastic, the next series that I want to read is the Fantastic Four, which starts before Hickman started writing it, and then during when Hickman was writing it. Because I've always heard Hickman's Fantastic Four is the best Fantastic Four series ever, but the problem is that series that he jumps on to Fantastic Four with is about like 100 and something issues, and I want to read it in time for the movie. I don't know if I'm going to be able to finish it before the movie, but that is my plan. Is to read comics before certain movies come out. And that's I don't know. I feel like that'd be an interesting little thing to do for this channel. And and yeah, I mean that's kind of it. That's kind of all I just really wanted to talk about. I wanted to just glaze the New Avengers and Brian Michael Bendis for a little bit. Uh, and you should just go out and read it. I read it on Marvel Unlimited, which is the uh, comic book streaming service, I guess if you want to call it that, um, where you can read Marvel comics on there. I think it's like $60 a year, which is what I do. $60 a year, and you get access to as all these comic books, and they also include Star Wars comics, Alien comics, Predator comics, because Disney fucking owns those now. So those are all on there, and yeah, dude, it's this app has been the um, my entertainment for a while, and it's still going to be. But but yeah, New Avengers, man, go check it out. Brian Michael Bendis. Uh, then you have Dark Avengers, which is also Brian Michael Bendis, and I read that. And before I end the video, Dark Avengers goes into X-Men a little bit, and that was really fucking good. We got to see how the Dark Avengers and the X-Men kind of intertwine, and of course Norman Osborn being a fucking dickbag, he is obviously against mutant rights and doesn't want anything to do with mutants. But anyways, go check out New Avengers, go check out Dark Avengers, and tell me what you think. If you've already read it, tell me what you thought of the series, whether you like it, you dislike it. Um, but yeah, I don't want to talk spoilers because you know it's a series that I want you to experience firsthand. Just but basically the pitch that I've told you. I just wanted to make this quick video glazing those series, and if you want to talk spoilers in the comments, I'll talk spoilers in the comments with you 100%. But but yeah, this is the best and Marvel Universe comic series I've ever read as of today. Anyways, I'm Fiznet. Have a good day. Have a good night. Whatever your time zone may be. Don't forget to have a good life. And read comics, dude. Read some fucking comics. Comics are fucking great. Whether they're indie, Marvel, whether if they're on those fucking bullshit ass web comic fucking erotica shit that you're reading, it's still comics, bro. They're great. Read comics.